Hey everybody, what's up? Today we're going to talk about Grohak the Bloodied. I think I've always thought he's one of the coolest looking champs in the game, and for a long time he was one of the biggest jokes in the game as far as champions go. But his content has expanded and things have changed. He may have even gotten a little buff in the past. I can't remember, to be honest. He's really not so bad anymore. He's a pretty solid champ and he can do a lot of things. So I'm going to do my best to show you some of what he can do in this video. We're going to talk about how to build him, his masteries, which ways you can use him. And then again, at the end of the video, as usual, I have some gameplay footage that I'm going to show you. I still have that orc team. I took a clan mission a while back that was clear spiders with orcs only. So I built a team with him, and what ended up happening with this team is that he and the rest of the team, there's other elements to it, but for the most part, he's 90% responsible for the spider taking 0 turns. The only things that ever move are spiderlings. The big spider actually never gets a single turn, and I actually built another couple of teams around him when I realized that and played around with him. I don't have those teams anymore, but you'll see it in action, and if you want to try to build around it, you can. We'll talk about some of the elements that make that possible, but he's really cool in there. He's pretty nice in Doom Tower. He could be used effectively in Arena. He's pretty nice in dungeons across the board. Maybe not so much Fire Knight. Well, actually, yeah, Fire Knight. Once you get the shield down, he's got a 2-hitter on the A1, so I take that back. Yeah, actually, Fire Knight as well. I don't have any footage of him in Fire Knight, I don't think, but he could be useful in there given the proper affinity. But yeah, he's a solid champ. Let's take a look at his skills real quick, and then we'll talk about builds and masteries and all those things. He's got a 2-hitter A1, as we said, with a 35% chance to put a speed debuff up, which is nice. Again, more Fire Knight utility than I think I was thinking right off the bat, but 2-hitter speed debuff. That's real nice for the A1. Here we've got an AoE. Each crit fills his turn meter by 20%. So dungeon waves, spiders, anywhere where there's going to be multiple enemies, he can give himself a whole nother turn, right? If it's arena, there's only 4, that's going to be 80%. Everywhere else, pretty much, where there's going to be 5 enemies, he just gives himself another turn, which in theory really makes this skill 1 cooldown less, because he does this, then he does his A2. If he gives himself another turn, it's basically a free turn, you know what I mean? It's basically a free cooldown for that, so that's pretty handy. And then here we've got a 4-turn cooldown on a turn meter steal. If he crits, he puts a weaken up. So you do want to focus crit on him probably more than I have here. For what I was doing with him, I wasn't super concerned with the crit, and since there were spiderlings, I knew he was going to crit enough to give himself a turn, so I wasn't really sweating it. You probably want to lean a little bit harder into crit than I did with him. We're going to talk about his build in a second here. And then a speed lead in dungeons that's 24%, which is pretty solid, right? That's not a bad speed lead at all. So here we need 4 books. Here we need 3 books. Here we need 4 books. He doesn't need a ton of books, right? Not a ton of books. And they're all pretty valuable. They're all pretty valuable. This one does not so much. If you could get away from the A2, that would be good. If you got lucky and they all went to his A3, and then if you wanted to get the A1 and get the chance to put the decreased speed up, that would be nice if you had a few books to spare. But really, ultimately, if you can book his A3, he's in business. Getting this turn meter steal on cooldown is going to be really, really nice, right? So as far as artifacts go, you'll see we went double perception, divine speed. Basically, accuracy and speed is the name of the game for this dude. And then you just want to build him like you can build him like a damage dealer if you wanted him to contribute some damage, depending on who you're running with him. Or you could build him to survive a bit more. He's got decent enough base defense for an attacker. His base HP is okay enough that you could scale it up a bit if you wanted him to be able to take a hit, and then still build him speedy and accurate and with crit, right? So he's either a speedy, accurate damage dealer or a speedy, accurate tank. Not so much a tank, but like you could beef him up a little bit if you needed him to be able to take a hit. You'll see that his damage contribution is pretty good in some of these runs we show him off in. He outputs pretty good damage, and again, I don't have full crit on him, and I don't have that much crit damage on him either. I purposely didn't put a crit damage amulet on him. Like, I haven't really built him up insanely well. I just kind of threw some stuff on him. I didn't max everything. Nothing on him is really that crazy. His speed's decent enough, but it's not through the roof. His attack's okay. Again, none of his stats here are nutty. We broke the 250 threshold for all the PvE content we're going to try him out in. But these are not crazy stats. This is a very obtainable build, I would say, across the board. I could build a much better Grohak than this on my free-to-play even. So this is not anything crazy, right? And then as far as masteries go, since you're probably going to be... Has anybody else noticed that lately, that the game's doing that? I know y'all all saw me click Masteries, but it thinks I'm clicking the X. It's been doing that a lot to me lately. I just kind of went standard PvE build, right? We worked our way down to War Master so he can get that max HP damage on any bosses he's fighting. And then over here, we gave him accuracy, Lore of Steel, because of all the little sets we put on him. We want those accuracy and speed boosts. Anything that affects turn meter. And then here we want him to have a better chance to land the decreased speed and the weaken, perhaps. And we wanted a chance to extend it. But mostly it's turn meter cycling, turn meter knockback, and accuracy to help him out, okay? There's probably a few other ways you could do it, but generally speaking, focusing accuracy on him and turn meter stuff, and then getting him down to War Master is going to be sufficient for probably most of the things you're going to be using him for. So again, he's actually a pretty cool champ. So if you've pulled him and you've been bummed out to pull him, hopefully this video can persuade you to get him out of the vault and do some things with him, because he actually is a pretty solid champ these days. And again, man, I just don't know if there's a harder looking champ in the game. He's a rough looking dude. I've always been a big fan of his skin. So that being said, we're going to hop over now and check out the gameplay. As usual, I'll come in and talk over moments that I think are key that I want you to focus on, or if there's something specific I want you to see. Beyond that, I'm going to go ahead and say bye. Appreciate you guys watching. Hope it helps. Like the video if you get anything out of it. And if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Hit the subscribe button, you know? Appreciate y'all. All right, for this one, I want you to just keep an eye on the big spider, the queen. She will not take a turn, and Grohak is, like I said, about 90% responsible for that. Ultimate Gallic has some turn meter knockback as well. That's pretty helpful. But for the most part, it is Grohak, and you'll see that between his AoE that fills his turn meter back up, and then stealing the turn meter with his A3, he is just a turn cycle machine. And there's going to be moments where it looks like the spider's about to take a turn, but she will not take a turn. It's pretty crazy. And like I said, there's several other teams that work around this. If you give him a little bit of help with a little bit more turn meter knockback at the right times, and then set him up with, you know, someone for an HP burn comp, somebody, if you've got cold hearts and stuff that can do big damage to him that way, Septimus, you know, there's other way, or her rather, there's other ways to do it, but Grohak is just really, really good about locking down the big spider here. So yeah, enjoy. This is just going to be a standard Ice Golem run for the most part. You can just see his ability to help with turn meter during the waves, his damage output. And then when we get to the boss, since we're running a relatively safe team, we just go ahead and target the boss so that all his turn meter things go straight into the boss. And you'll see how that works out for us. I figure between the protection that Brogny's bringing us, the attack down Chamford's dropping, and then Syl as some insurance, we were going to be okay just targeting the boss. You certainly don't have to. If you wanted to just run auto and not pay attention, it could work. I just figured to speed this clip up a bit, we would target the boss. And this team isn't super crazy, right? Like, you've got Grohak, who's one you got to pull. Brogny was a fusion. Syl's free. Ashdalon was a fusion. And Chamford's fantastic for this, don't get me wrong. I've done videos of Chamford soloing Ice Golem. He's certainly really good for it. And in some ways, I guess he was here for insurance too. But anybody really that brings an attack down that's tanky, you know, will be sufficient here. Really, Brogny's the one keeping everybody safe, seals the insurance with slows, stuns on the waves. It's not a bad little team, but I just want you to see Grohak bringing his speed lead, speeding everybody up, and then his turn meter throughout the fight. And then here for the last show off of him, I did a few variations of this Doom Tower run. It's Doom Tower hard, but it's earlier in just because we're earlier in the rotation at the time of recording this. He could be a pretty useful member of teams, I would say, for a pretty big portion of it. But I was running a few different teams to give variations to try to get a good one to show you, one where I felt like he contributed. This one I thought maybe he got a little outshined by Biggin, and then the next one I didn't care for. But then I was like, you know what, why don't I just leave them all in and let you see a few variations of some different teams I was running him with, and see how he contributes when things are a little different. Like I said, my Vizix here is built kind of interesting. I'm working on something for her as well. I don't know if it'll be out before or after this video, but Vizix is actually a pretty diverse champ. She does a lot of things, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, just a few Doom Tower runs, and I figured I would go ahead and leave them all in and let you guys see them if you wanted to see them. Nothing too fancy, just a couple of Doom Tower runs. So that's it.